my phone started blowing up. Oh, are you watching this? I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And then someone sent me a link saying that he's going to retire my old ass or something. I don't know what it was, but the stars aligned, I guess. I was thinking about jumping back in. I was starting to train and get quite fit, and then I got called out. So I answered the call.
Welcome to the No Limit Boxing Podcast. We have a special guest today. Big Bad Barry Hall is joining us today as July 10 fast approaches, returning to the ring against Curtis Scott, and we're lucky enough to have him in for a yarn today on the No Limit Boxing Podcast. Baz, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us. I've seen a few of these episodes. They're quite good. You do a good job.
Thank you. Well, I actually hate doing it, but no one else is going to sit in here and do it for me. It's killing me, but it's a great chance for everyone to get to know our fighters and people coming on the shows, and I think it's a great chance for everyone to hear a little bit more too about your boxing journey and how you got to here and what you've got coming for us on July 10.
Yeah, it's the journey's been up and down. I boxed as a junior, so my dad was a boxer and a trainer, and like any young kid, you just wanted to get your dad's approval, I guess. I didn't even really want to fight, to be perfectly honest, but we had a bit of a makeshift gym in the backyard, in the garage, and I used to start hitting the bags, and eventually I was playing AFL at that time as a 13, 14-year-old, and I said to Dad, I want to fight, and purely just to impress him, and we ended up starting to do some amateur boxing. So did okay, and won a state title, and but I sort of got to the point of I was 16, 17, and I was 54 kilos, believe it or not, and I grew quite a bit. I have a bit of a growth spurt, but I got to the point where all my mates were playing football, started to experiment with alcohol and drugs and girls and all these sorts of things, like the evolution of a young man goes through, and I was sort of missing out on all that. Not that I wanted to do all the bad stuff, but I was missing out on the parties and the girls and, all these things all my mates are coming to school on a Monday talking about. I'm sitting there going, geez, I trained 3 times on Sunday and wasn't that fun. But so I got to a point where I actually lost my last fight, and I actually used that as an excuse to not fight anymore. Yeah. I said to Dad, I trained too hard for this, and it was a bit controversial. We thought we won the fight, and I said I trained too hard to be ripped off like this, so I might give it a bit of a break. So that's how my amateur boxing career stopped, I guess, and I started to play football. And it was one of those sliding door moments where I went halfway through a season, so it was in June. It was in June. I played for a football club, Avenel, who was a small country town of 100 people, who needed some numbers. I went and played half a year there, got seen by a recruiter. I ended up winning the league medal that year, and then I got invited to a representative squad, and it just started my career, I guess, to be drafted from an AFL perspective. So, sliding door moment. I wasn't enjoying the boxing too much, although I was okay at it, and I just wanted to play footy again, and I got the chance.
Well, I reckon you made the right choice at that time. Went on to a great AFL career, obviously, and being here, we're based in Sydney, so we jump on the Swans bandwagon. Yep. Really loved your work as a Swan. When did the itch for boxing come back in for you?
I guess I did okay as an amateur, and I always wondered, okay, if I went down this route, I spoke about the sliding door moment. If I walked through the other door, what would happen? I always trained it. It was one of the sessions I always did. Extras as a footballer was to do the boxing because it's hard and it's tough and it's really challenges mentally. So I've always had that in me. And the great Johnny Lewis used to come in and train with us, and it was just great. So my number one sport as a sports fan is boxing. Yeah, I love it. I don't watch footy. I don't watch league, don't take offence, but I just watch boxing and UFC. So it's something I've always been a fan of. And, it was probably just an itch I wanted to scratch a little bit. And the opportunity come up, at the ripe age of, I think I was 42 or 43, to fight Paul Gallen. And, I thought, well, why not? I'm fit, I'm able. I didn't have a great long camp to prepare, but I did it and did okay. It was a draw. Would have loved a decision, but it was also a challenge. The challenge aspect is a big one for me, is to challenge myself. And that's something that I think crossover athletes don't do is challenge themselves straight up, and that's something that I wanted to break the mould of. And it's been to my detriment a little bit because, I've had the draw against Paul, and then the last fight I had was against Sonny and got stopped early. And, you almost put yourself into irrelevancy, I guess. So, to take the challenges sometimes, it's a great thing from my personal perspective, but your next fight after that, it doesn't give you much currency.
So let's talk a little bit about that fight, really, because it was a huge fight. Everyone was talking about it. Arguably the toughest guy out of AFL against arguably the toughest guy out of the NRL meeting in the ring, and it was a very controversial decision, was it? How do you think that fight actually went?
I thought out of 6 rounds, I won 4. I thought from a boxing standpoint, as I said, I'm a boxing fan, so I look for clean punches and scoring punches, not necessarily the dirty boxing in close. And if people score that, I would say, okay, well, you got an argument there. But I thought I landed the cleaner punches. I thought the second half of the fight, I started to kick on. So I thought it was 4-2. That's my personal perspective. I'm sure Paul's got a different opinion, but I thought from a boxing purist and watching it back, I wasn't sure on the night. I thought I won, and everyone was saying I won, but that's neither here nor there. That's people on your camp saying that. But when I did watch it back, I thought I landed the cleaner shots, and I took control of the fight later.
And how'd you find Gallen as an opponent?
Oh, he's tough. Like, if you're going to have your first fight as a professional, it's probably not a guy you want to pick, let's be honest. He's a walk-up, he's tough, he walks through your punches, and his aerobic capacity is great. And if you've got a chin and you've got the aerobic capacity, it's half the battle as a heavyweight. Let's be honest, and he's done really well. So to have that in my first fight was a challenge, and that's what I wanted. And we took it up, and obviously the rematch didn't happen for various reasons. And, he went on to fight Mark Hunt and, totally get it.
Yeah, big fight. I think it was that was an interesting one. Then your second fight then, Sonny-Bill Williams, again, didn't go the way that you'd planned. How was that fight?
It was a disaster, really, to be perfectly honest. All your fears as a fighter or an athlete, it's like from a footy aspect, you do all pre-season and you go 2 minutes into the first quarter and you blow your knee out and your season's over. That was how it felt. And, I trained so hard. And there was things during camp that, didn't go to plan and all those sort of things, but I don't think camp's ever perfect, let's be perfectly honest. But I'm very much a big believer in everything needs to align. My training camp, my sparring, my body, my team, I think everything just needs to align, and it didn't. It just didn't. I didn't have a clear mind. I actually watched the fight back, and you can see it in my eyes, it just wasn't there. It was almost like I was in a dreamland. I was a sitting duck, let's be perfectly honest. So didn't go to plan, and all my worst fears come to fruition, I guess. I got knocked out, and I copped a temple shot early, and then I was gone. But even before that, I just wasn't there. So, and that's no one's fault. That's my fault. So I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not blaming my team. I'm not blaming anything around me. It's my fault. It's my responsibility. So that's something that's almost has played on my mind I've thought about it for nearly 2 years every single day because it annoys me. It really does, because I'm a competitor and I know what I can do, and it certainly didn't project that night. So it's one of those competitive, annoying things.
The thing that fascinates me with boxing and the experience for you as an AFL player, if you have a loss or a bad performance, you've got 6 or 7 days and you can turn that all around. And you go from coming off a poor performance or a big loss, and then the following week you can be the absolute superstar. You've won the game, and everything's turned around in that short time. How is it as a boxer when you've got to deal with a loss or a performance that you're not happy with, that long period in between the opportunity to turn that around?
Yeah, it's one of those. That's why boxing's not an easy game, and it's a brutal sport, and that's why I love it. Also, you got no second chances really. Like, once it's done, it's done. And one thing I did go through, and as I just spoke to you, I spoke about thinking through it every morning. I'd get up before I go to bed. I'd think about it, and it was probably more just annoying at myself that I'd let stuff get to me during that fight camp and fight day. So, because I know my abilities, and I still think to this day, and people might say, "Oh, geez, you're kidding yourself after the result," but I still think I can beat Sonny. I absolutely do. And no disrespect to him. He sacrificed, he done the work, he did what he had to do. So, but I still think I could beat him, first and foremost. And yeah, I got to a point where I couldn't rectify any of that because, you know, he'd moved on. He went and fought Mark Hunt as well. So Mark Hunt's been my demise. I didn't get the rematch with Paul, and then he goes and fights Sonny, which obviously didn't work out for him. But and probably the self-doubt starts to creep in. Okay, how's my chin gone? So one thing I did do, which was my saving grace really, was Troy Pilcher, which I think you know quite familiar. He was training for a might have been a state title, a Queensland title fight, and he said, "Oh, can you come in and give me a hand sparring?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm not sure how I'm going to go because I just got knocked out in 2 minutes, but I can come and give you 4 rounds." And so I went in there and had those doubts of, is my chin still there? Am I still able to do this? And without going into sparring stories, but I did okay. And you know, Troy was fight fit at that stage, and I'm like, oh shit, I got hit a couple of times and I'm fine. So I'm like, geez, it's sort of pushed away that doubt a little bit.
Yeah.
And by the last couple of rounds, I started to get really confident again and get back to what I normally am.
Yeah.
So just the doubts and the not being able to rectify the wrongs was something that, to train and spar again almost fixed me up, I guess. Didn't fix my ego up. And people going, Sonny knocked you out in 2 minutes. Like, that's still there. But it's, in terms of ticking the box from me, that certainly was a big help.
So then I'm assuming that this is what's led to you being just like, yep, let's go, when the opportunity to fight Curtis popped up. Obviously, Curtis called you out after the fight, straight after the fight, and had a bit to say after the fight. Is this part of that motivation that made you say, yeah, let's do it?
Well, yeah, I've been training a little bit, not fully serious, but you know, I go to Fidel's gym at Fight Club up in the Gold Coast. It was probably a couple of times a week, and just tick a few boxes and do a bit of sparring with Troy, and just pretty social, I guess, and just to keep the mind right. And then obviously Curtis had his fight with Joey, and he did quite well. And then I didn't watch it, so I don't take offence to that either, but I was doing something with the kids, and then my phone started blowing up. Oh, are you watching this? I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And then someone sent me a link saying that he's going to retire my old ass or something like that. I don't know what it was, but the stars aligned, I guess. I was thinking about jumping back in. I was starting to train and get quite fit, and then I got called out. So I answered the call.
I'll tell you what, for my social training, it's a lot different than jumping in the ring with the Queensland heavyweight champion and sparring 4 rounds with him. That's pretty solid social training that you're doing there. Since then, have you had a chance to watch the Curtis and Joey fight? Yeah,
I've watched the fight, and I watched his last fight that he had, and man, he's good. Hey, I'm not going to take it away from him. I respect him as a fighter. He's a fighter, and he's improved quite a bit. He's quite fit, and he's tough, and he's not scared. So this is a boxing match technically, but it's going to be a fight. Let's be honest, it's going to be a fight. So, and it's one of those challenges. He's a young man, he's a young bull, and he's going to come forward, and I don't have to go searching for him. And it's one of those challenges. I spoke about my previous challenges, which haven't served me, but I'm going to make sure this one serves me correct.
Do you think his style suits you for this fight?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, the Paul. It's almost a Paul Gallen fight. He walks forward. He's quite fit. So I think one thing with the Paul Gallen fight is I didn't fight enough. I boxed too much. And rather than in the second half of the fight is really push and put an exclamation mark on it, I didn't. I just boxed and did what I had to do, and then got out of there because there was lots of question marks in that fight about my my gas tank, and that's
Yeah.
one of Paul's strong points.
Yeah.
So I sort of held back and just did what I had to do rather than really push the fight and try and put an exclamation mark on it. So they're the lessons you learn. It's inexperience. That's what it is. But this fight's, as I said before, he's in your face and he's going to come forward and he's fit and we're going to throw punches, and that's what I'm preparing for.
Now, he's done a bit of training with Paul Gallen too. So they've, I think Gal's even been in his corner at previous fights, or has been there to support him, and he's done a lot of sparring with him. Have you spoken to Gallen, asking a little bit about Curtis, looking for tips or anything like that, or?
No, look, I don't think I'm on Gal's Christmas card list, but no, look, I've done a sporting with Gal. We're all good. We're fine. He thinks he won. I think I won, and but maybe it's a score we have to settle down the track. But I haven't spoken to him, to be perfectly honest. I don't really know what Gal's doing or whether he's training. I know he's retired, but is he?
That's an interesting one. Do you think that a win against Curtis can open the door for the rematch with Gal?
Well, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm doing this just to fight Curtis Scott. Yeah. So I'm not looking past Curtis Scott, so don't take that the wrong way, Curtis. I'm doing this for a larger reason. Yeah.
A larger reason. There's a little bit of... Are you going to elaborate on that one, or we'll just see what happens, see what evolves on that one?
Well, I've got to tick the box. I've got to take the first step, and the first step is Curtis Scott, and then when the second step is there to take, I'll let you all know.
No, we look forward to that, definitely. Is there anyone that's actually on your hit list that you'd talk about that you're interested in fighting in the future, other than who we've spoke about previously?
Oh, look, the two guys I've fought previously is the one that defeated me is probably the number one, because that's the one that I think has got away from me. So I'll make sure that doesn't happen again. But I also understand from Sonny's point of view, he moved on, and it mightn't be on their radar. That's totally fine as well. It's no disrespect. It's just something that I want to do.
We see a lot of NRL guys that are putting up their hand and keen to jump in the ring. I personally feel that guys from AFL, they train a lot more like boxers. The anaerobic capacity is a lot more similar to boxers, and why don't we see more AFL guys putting their hands up for fights? I've
often thought, why don't we see this? And obviously current players, contractually, it's probably a roadblock.
They're a lot stricter, aren't they?
Yeah. You can't ride motor, you can't do anything.
Yeah,
you can't ski. Yeah.
Skiing's dangerous.
You can only cross the road with bubble wrap around you. But and I totally understand it. Like, a player is the club's asset, so you've got to protect your player. And if you pop a shoulder out or break your jaw, even pre-season wise, it's going to set you back. So I totally get it. But I just think the rugby league culture and the game you play is tough. Yeah. Like, it's certainly a game that I would love to have played and tried, but I don't know how you guys just keep backing up every week, and you must be sore, but that toughness is just bred in you. And to go into a boxing ring and get punched in the face is probably not that big a deal. Where in AFL it probably is. Let's be perfectly honest. So you guys are in a full hard contact sport every single week for 22 or 26 weeks of the year. And to go into a boxing ring is probably not that big a deal. Where AFL, it's probably a little bit more of a daunting experience. So not tarnishing anyone, but that's my opinion.
But in saying that, I do see a lot of AFL blokes that are doing the training. Jamara for one, I've seen him. He's boxing regularly, and I know he turns up to the fights. He's got a real interest in it. Is he someone that you could see having any success? Is there anyone in the AFL at the moment that you think you could see having success if they tried the sport?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really watch it, so I don't know many current players, but I know there's a couple of ex-players who are fighting at the moment. Clay Smith is down at Alice Gym. Stephen Baker's about to have a fight with Brodie Holland.
Yeah, right.
That's coming up as well, and not to promote any other shows.
No, we can cut it. If we're not happy, we can cut it out.
But there's a few guys starting to filter through now that are coming through. But I I'm not sure about current players, to be honest.
And is that someone, would you look at challenging down that way as well, or you still, or just see how they go?
Just see how they go. I think, the names we mentioned will probably keep me busy, but yeah.
Oh, I look forward to that. I do hope that we can see more of you. I know for me personally, I've always been impressed with your technique and your style, and I do agree that their performances just didn't go your way, the way that they had planned. What are we looking forward to? July 10, Curtis Scott. There's a lot of rumours a lot of chat that this could well be fight of the night. And I know anytime the heavyweights step in, it's always a chance of stealing the show. What have you got planned for us on July 10?
Well, I'm planning for Curtis Scott to walk forward and me throw punches at him and him walk through them. So that's what I'm preparing for. So I'm going to be fit and I'm going to be prepared for him to come forward. And yes, it's a boxing match, but I've already alluded to it's going to be a fight. So that's something I'm preparing for. I think it will be a good fight. As I said, I'm not taking this fight because he's a tomato can. I'm taking this fight because I rate him. Yeah. I think he's a tough fight, and it's a challenge. So that's why I'm doing this. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it.
Well, it's a big chance for him to make a name for himself as well, too, right? Yeah,
well, I was a bit surprised when he called me out, and he was a little bit aggressive in his call out because I seen him at your show previously. Yeah. At the Swans Academy place, and he came up and said hello, and he was quite nice. And then I seen the clip, and his energy certainly changed. So I was like, okay, maybe someone's made him say that. I don't know, but I'm sure I'll see him soon enough. I can ask him. I
do feel like the excitement overtook him after the fight, and you'd probably know yourself leading up to your first fight, the anxiety and the pressure building, and then as soon as the fight's over, it's like the pressure valve's released and then everything got to come out.
And you say silly shit, but I get that. I say silly shit all the time. So. I get the adrenaline, and he's pumped up, and he was obviously quite happy and elated. And I've answered the call. I accept his challenge.
Hey, even with your amateur career background and your experience in boxing, what boxers did you look up to as when you were coming along? Was there anyone that you really followed that you were really impressed with?
Well, unfortunately, I was in the era of, I think the welterweight scene at that stage, Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, middleweight, and Marvin Hagler is my favourite fighter of all time. Could switch southpaw, orthodox, and just tough, never got knocked out. Just a tough man. I think his mindset is one thing I really liked. It was every fight he was wearing hats with war on it, and he beat guys more talented, but he just toughed it out, and he was a guy that I always looked up to and loved. Probably Marvin Hagler's the one.
Well, I reckon that's probably a good time for us to do our points bet, build different, build your own boxer.
One thing PointsBet and I have in common is we're both one of a kind.
Hold your horses. PointsBet's the only thing built different round here, mate. No, Shacko.
There's only room for one shack in this town.
For a betting experience that's truly built different.
I got all day.
Download the PointsBet app today. PointsBet, built different. You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
What we do is we've got every attribute that you like in a boxer. We want you to build your perfect boxer based on these attributes from the people that you've seen over the past. So thanks to PointsBet, build different. Build your own boxer. Who's got the power?
Who's got the power in current day?
Yeah, well, power for your perfect boxer can be over any era.
I think George Foreman is a guy who's... Mike Tyson's obviously got power, but George Foreman's got that big thudding, pushing power. Yeah. It's just raw power. I think I wouldn't like to be hit by him.
I love watching that heavy bag footage.
Yeah.
Speed.
Speed, well, to stick with the heavyweights, Mike Tyson's speed that was a part of his power, was his speed. So I think Mike Tyson, he's even quick now at the age of 57. So Mike Tyson for me,
Yeah, absolutely. Boxing IQ.
Boxing IQ. I think Sugar Ray Leonard was quite good, but Pernell Whitaker was another guy who's so smart. Yeah. But we see the current day now, Terence Crawford,
Very smart.
Very smart guy. So I'm probably going to go Terence Crawford because of the current day.
Yeah. Okay, I like that one. Jab. Who's got your jab?
Larry Holmes. I'm sticking to a lot of heavyweights, but Larry Holmes, obviously Thomas Hearns was another one, but Larry Holmes, one of the best jabs you'll ever see.
Yeah, beautiful. Chin. Best chin.
Marvin Hagler.
You already said it,
Never got
didn't
knocked
you?
down, fought everyone.
Yeah, that's great. Heart.
You see Gaddy, Arturo Gaddy was just a heart and soul fighter.
Yeah.
See some of the Mickey Ward fights. They had 3, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, wasn't winning, but just hung in there and was in the fight till the last 10 seconds. So he had some heart.
Yeah, that's heart. Defense.
I think one of the greatest of all time is, Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah. It's hard to go past him on that one, isn't it?
It's hard to go past him on the IQ as well, but
Yeah.
he just fought the best of the best, played safe. His defence was that good. He scored, stayed out of harm's way, and collect the cash.
And he did that very well
He
too.
did.
Look, thanks for joining us today. Really looking forward to July 10. I think there's a huge opportunity for you and Curtis to steal the show and for plenty more opportunities to come off the back of it. So thanks for coming in here with us, and look forward to seeing your performance.
Thanks for having me. Good luck.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time on the No Limit Boxing Podcast.